his almost 2-year-long investigation into alleged abuse of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court earlier this month and turned in his draft report to Attorney General William Barr. That report is currently undergoing classification review, after which it will be put into its final form and publicly released. When that happens, the entire sordid truth about the 2016 election and its aftermath will be laid bare at last. The American public will finally see how federal officials, working in conjunction with allies in the news media, targeted Trump campaign personnel with investigations through the use of fake evidence being supplied by paid political operatives working for Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. What Democrats and the fake news media at places like CNN, the New York Times and the Washington Post have snidely dismissed as Russian propaganda or a wild conspiracy theory is going to be demonstrated to be quite real through the exhaustive and meticulous case that Horowitz will lay out. As the Department of Justice prepares this explosive report for public release, those opposing the president knew they needed something to counter the firestorm it will start. They settled on an absurd complaint filed by an anonymous leaker making vague allegations of crimes by Trump related to a phone call he had with the president of Ukraine that was on July 25th. As discussed in a recent story, the transcript of the phone call does not contain what the leaker claimed it did, and the complaint filed is rife with factual errors and contained no first-hand knowledge of anything it alleges. The fact that they were forced to make this weak play to try to distract and diffuse what is going to be an explosive Inspector General report is very revealing. However, the latest impeachment inquiry based on the weak leaker complaint is not real. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi would have to bring a resolution to the floor for a vote by the full House in order for a constitutional impeachment hearing to get underway. As House Minority Whip Rep. Stephen Scalise and others have frequently pointed out, Pelosi has not done this so far. Instead of holding the required full House vote, Pelosi merely endorsed the impeachment inquiry, which is being run jointly by the House Judiciary Committee, which is chaired by Rep. Gerald Nadler, and the House Intelligence Committee run by Rep. Adam Schiff. Why doesn't Pelosi want to bring a resolution to hold an official by the Constitution impeachment hearing to the House for a full vote? Because she knows exactly how such a vote would go. Recall back in July when some rogue House Democrats insisted on bringing a doomed impeachment resolution to the House for a vote. The full House vote was 331 to 95 to table the bill, effectively killing it, with 137 Democrats crossing the aisle to join 194 Republicans. Make no mistake, despite all their loud bluster to the contrary, the Democrats in the House are very well aware that impeachment is an electoral loser. They blustered for months about impeachment, but when it came to vote on the House floor last July, they had to show their hand. Pelosi knows very well what would happen if this latest round of impeachment theatre was put to the test with a full House vote. Her caucus is divided and many House members would lose their seats if they followed through on this. Also, let's recall that Schiff just spent more than 2 years pulling the "I have evidence, mountains and mountains of evidence" act with the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. How many people will believe Schiff all over again with this new and even weaker Trump-Ukraine bluff? Yet we are all watching supposed journalists eagerly lining up to sell this ridiculous bluff to the public. Although Schiff had refused to address this, the letter from the anonymous leaker that the media insists on calling a whistleblower is dated August 12th. That means it's possible Schiff had the filed complaint back in mid-August and sat on it. Town Hall columnist Katie Pavlich was one of the first to call attention to this in a column entitled "Adam Schiff received the whistleblower complaint a month ago and didn't report it until now. Why?" Schiff knew this politically motivated complaint was filled with second and third-hand hearsay and even cited news media reports as evidence for its claims. The leaker repeatedly admitted to having no direct first-hand knowledge and is merely passing on what was heard from others who are also anonymous. Because Schiff knew what a weak tea this complaint was, I believe he didn't make it public until there was simply no other option left, no other card that could be played to keep the Democrats' impeachment theatre going, especially in light of the fact that Horowitz's Fisk abuse report is going to be released any day now. Once again, the Democrats are trying a desperate Hail Mary play with 3 seconds left on the clock in a fight they are losing, and losing quite badly. If you recall, they used this futile Hail Mary strategy during Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings, when Senator Dianne Feinstein held back Christine Blasey Ford's letter for months, waiting until every other method to help Kavanaugh's march to the court had been exhausted before making the letter public. Like the Blasey Ford gambit of accusing Kavanaugh of a sexual assault at the 11th hour to prevent a conservative justice from taking a seat on the Supreme Court, they are now forced into a desperation play where they take an absurd complaint from a politically motivated anonymous leaker and try to use it as a pretext to begin bluffing impeachment of this president. The Democratic Party did massive damage to itself over the Kavanaugh shenanigans, and the price for this latest self-inflicted fiasco shall also be quite high, in my opinion. But what